Hey guys, it's Jenny, and I'm going to do a quick layout that I'm just going to have fun with and free flow and just kind of go with it. We'll see what happens, but I really enjoyed the last video I did where I kind of did the same thing. I didn't really have too much of a plan, and it ended up being a lot more therapeutic than a normal layout that I sketch out and really think about. So I have this photograph that I took with my phone of, it was a salad I made for my husband's 40th birthday dinner, and we've been growing our own tomatoes, and he's become really obsessed with being this, amazing tomato farmer. And so they are really good, and it just doesn't even compare to anything you can buy in the store. So we've been having tomato salads till, we are been turning red, but I just thought that was a really pretty look, and it kind of just made me think about his birthday was in July, and it kind of looked like a wreath and the colors and Christmas in July. But I really wanted to do just a black, white, and gold layout, and then have this be sort of the only color would be the photograph. So that's kind of what I'm going for. So that's the photograph I'm going to use. I've got little bits and pieces I'm going to throw in there. Maybe this is the gold. I've got these black sort of glittery doilies I've used before. And I've got a couple pieces from the Scrapbook Circle kit from August, the printables and pieces from there, the printables they include in the kit. And tag, just white and black cardstock. And I've got these fun little flag thingies I got that are Dawn and Downey. I thought about doing part of the title on that. And a little snap piece. My daughter is constantly getting on to me about how I never stamp my titles anymore. And so I thought I might stamp part of the title in some of these open letters. And, the gold thickers, because it's going to have a lot of gold in it. And I thought about using some of these little wood veneer arrows or speech bubbles or something somehow. Little tags, and maybe a label, one of these chalkboard labels that might be a good contrast with the black and white. And I got the stencil I thought would be good in the background. And I plan on using some modeling paste and making it really textured, and making a very light green, much more pale down that tone down this on the background. So we'll see where that goes, and I'm just gonna have fun with it. Okay, I thought I would talk through a little bit of this and give you a background of my sort of process and thought process and ideas of how I did this painting in the background and how I came up with this. I really wanted to have a, this crisp, clean kind of black, white, gold, and have the red be the color, but when I started getting into this stenciling, I just really like the green, and it doesn't match the green from the tomatoes or anything, but I just thought it was a nice contrast, and the circles kind of went with the tomatoes and everything. I have been taking this art class from Wilna Furstenberg from 2Ps, and was so inspired by it. The first chapter that I actually was inspired my last layout didn't even cover anything I did. I just was inspired by what she did. The first chapter was stencils, which went more along with this layout. And then she did one on Mod Podge that she used for a medium to coat over things, and also as a glittering glue, which I don't think I've ever done. I've used a million glittering glues, and I think the best one I came up with was the Martha Stewart glittering one, but they're still a little bit thick, and I've tried to water them down. I need to find a better ratio of water to glue and make it thin enough so the glitter doesn't get too chunky and come out everywhere. My daughter says it looks like Tinkerbell's been hanging out in our craft room. So You know, that's what happens when we work with glitter. But so I'm trying to find this green paint that I like, and I end up getting way too, well, not way too dark. I ended up being a lot darker than I thought, but that's the modeling paste, and I mix it with a few different colors of green and then some white. And I lighten it down a bit. I have been so pleased with these masks that I bought, and I know a lot of them, you know, they're used for misting and different things. This is a specific, I believe it's a specific one more for actual stenciling, that you would use a sort of stencil brush that you pounce directly perpendicular to the paper, and so you're much more likely to get a very crisp image from the cutouts. And obviously that's not the look I'm going for here, but I'm really pleased with how crisp and clean the paint really makes it. A lot of times the mist, which I love, if you don't, you know, if you lay it on too thick, it'll kind of go underneath it and you don't get it as clean. And these are not perfect circles. They're obviously much more sort of organic, which, you know, I really liked for my theme too. But anyway, I've just been very pleased at how that molding paste, I think, helps keep the structure really firm and tight, and makes the paint keep from going underneath the stencil. And I guess that's part of the property of it, and maybe also that it dries very quickly, because I usually dry a lot on the back of it to help keep it from warping, but it doesn't take that awful long to dry, because obviously you see I use it pretty much right away. So there's the photo I trimmed down, and I used this little piece that I have been hanging on to forever of that gold vellum. And I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to mat the picture on top of the stenciled paper. I had planned on tucking my journaling inside this little card, but I didn't end up doing that. And you'll see later I actually had used this black enamel spray paint. I think it's like modeling paint for car modeling or something, and I used it to make these big drops. I had seen Marcy Penner do that, and I loved the way she sprayed it into the spray top. She sprayed the spray into the spray can top and then dripped it onto the paper, which I've done, and it's turned out really good before, but this was really late at night, and it actually came out really heavy in the top left corner and had these huge black spots, and it really upset me, and I couldn't figure out what to do. But I did come up with something, and you'll see a little clip at the very end that I came up with. So anyway, I stamped the title on this little card and used those pennants to hold some gold thickers, and then I kind of go through a couple other little doodles, and then I'll come to the part where I really mess it up by spraying black paint on it. So I'll come back in a minute. Okay, so here I am at the very end. I pretty much thought I had everything done, and there come the giant big black splatters that I couldn't, that's just the first place my eye went to. The ones at the bottom right I think turned out great. At this point, I mean, that was literally the last thing I was going to do, except maybe do the journaling. But, so I was so frustrated, I couldn't figure out what to do. I didn't know whether to try to do something right away. Do I wait? Do I, I kind of ignored it for a minute, and then after a while I just got mad and left it alone until the next day and thought, I'll come back and I'll look at this and it'll be fine. But it really wasn't fine, and I decided that I needed to do something else about it. I was just piddling around with a couple other little bitty pieces, but I thought maybe if I added a bigger one of those stickers that it would help either balance it, or it would help, I could put it over it and it would look like it was intended, but that was still, it was a little too much black. And I love those chalkboard stickers. They do have a neat finish, and I used one of them for the date, but it wasn't near that big. So I tried to dry it a bit to go ahead and do something while I was still videoing and trying to stay at the moment, and then I just got frustrated. So here I think is when I decided to forget it and go to bed. So then I come back, and I really just needed to cover it up and get rid of it. So I start going through all these other little pieces that I thought might go with that wood veneer or some gold, a couple other little tags, and I stamped this tag with an old stamp from Amy Tangerine, this little camera stamp. It was too dark, and then I realized there are these little stamps included in that same set. I can't remember if it's Ready, Set, Go or not, but it's a fork, knife, and spoon. And I remember thinking when I saw it, because there's a little house and some other little cameras, but I remember thinking when I bought it, I will never use that fork, knife, and spoon. Well, I used the fork and the knife, and stamped on this little tag with some other little hearts, and I was really pleased at the way it came out. I did a little text background stamp that says Summer from a Dear Lizzie stamp that's also, you know, a few collections ago. But it turned out, you know, it was a good place to start, and I used something that I really thought I would never use. It's a cute stamp, it would have to be something like this that you would use. I just don't see, you know, really throwing a fork and knife and spoon on something randomly instead of something else. So I put that on there, and went ahead and added one of these these little cork stickers, and I thought that the swirls and the ampersand, even though it doesn't really have anything to do with it, kind of went with all the swirls and the doily and the circles from the modeling paste and the wreath of tomatoes. So that's kind of what my thinking was for that, and I think it did cover it up without making it too much of a mess. So you can see the close-ups here in a minute, and the final product at the end. Thanks so much for watching, and I would love any feedback or comments that you might have. Thanks again. Bye.